Welcome, everyone. My name is Seth Green, and especially on an afternoon like this one, where we are talking about really important issues in business, it is a privilege to say that I'm the founding director of the Baumhart Center for Social Enterprise and Responsibility at Loyola University Chicago. And we are both honored and truly delighted to be partnering with our friends at Chill on this webinar to look at how we support employee wellness in this overwhelming moment. Let me start by just laying out the agenda that is before us so you know what's ahead. I'll be briefly welcoming you and sharing a little bit about our center, and then I'm going to be turning it over for a strategic overview to Laura Sage, who is the founder and CEO of Chill. And then we're going to hear 3 business case studies from leaders at Mondelez, at Strata Decision Technology, and from PwC. And then we're going to get to your questions. And so I'm going to ask you now, if you have questions, you can begin chatting them. And intentionally, because we want to promote interactivity, we are allowing you to chat to everyone. So in addition to the opportunity to get answers from our panel, there's also the opportunity for you to be receiving ideas and feedback from the others who are on this call, which includes many CEOs and CHROs that are at a moment where they are asking many of these same questions about the old playbook has been thrown out. What do we do now to really make sure that we are a purposive company in this moment? Before we get into the full material, I want to just tell you a little bit about the Baumhart Center because I saw many new names and faces. So I am, as you see here, Seth Green, and I'm going to move on because I want to share with you what we do at the center. So we intend to be a business school that is focused on how do we integrate the strategy and tools of business with the higher purpose of Loyola University. As an institution, we are committed to a Jesuit mission, which means a more just, humane, and sustainable world. And so we look at how do you integrate business strategy and social purpose. And so today's topic about how companies support wellness is right at the center of that intersection of what is good business, but also what is truly good in the world itself. We are very proud that as a center and as a Quinlan School of Business, we have been recognized for leadership for more than 50 years since the time of Father Baumhart. And just last year, when the Financial Times surveyed more than 250 business schools around the world, we were one of the top 4 in the world, according to the survey in social purpose in business education, along with one other school in the US and then 2 in Europe. In terms of what we do, we prepare leaders for impact. And one of the programs that we are most proud of is an MBA that is at the intersection of purpose and profit. And I will point out that on the list of people that we have in the current cohort that you see here, Nicole Gilbertson is the general manager at Chill and has been our phenomenal connector in this webinar. I'll also mention that starting next year, we are going to have a D&I Leadership Institute that will be preparing the leaders who are going to build more diverse and inclusive workplaces to overcome many of the issues that we are seeing at the forefront of the COVID-19 crisis right now. As many of you may know, we are in a place in Chicago where for every 1 white person who has been lost to COVID-19, there are 6 Blacks, and that reflects deeper inequities and a larger racial and ethnic wealth gap. And my incredible colleague, Emily Nordquist, has brought the people that you see on the screen together for an initiative that we are leading around this. And so for those of you who are at companies that want to grow your D&I leadership, it's an area that we are very proud to be building, and we look forward to being in touch with you in the year ahead. And you'll see more if you're on this webinar and announcements that are forthcoming on this institute. The final thing I'll share is that we are not only trying to empower people, but we are also trying to change the future of business itself by raising the standards for business. And we have an award series that we look nationally at the companies that we believe are at the forefront of social innovation in business. And you see here the 3 awardees that were named in 2020. And on our website, you can see full reports on each of these companies, why they were given these awards, and then videos with their CEOs, as well as the award ceremony which thankfully took place just before all of us had to distance from one another. So with that brief introduction to who we are, I'm going to now turn it over because we are so proud to be partnering with Chill, and we really see them as a leader in the space of wellness, and we have been so impressed at how Laura has built the social enterprise in a way that has helped many companies to be more mindful and to have ultimately higher performance from their employees. So Laura, let me turn it over to you.
Seth, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to the entire Baumhart community for this opportunity to discuss supporting employees' wellness amidst COVID-19. It's clearly a really important time and subject, and the circumstances are so dynamic. I'm sure that all of the leaders listening are grappling with how to navigate and how their businesses, their employees, their communities, and families will survive and ultimately thrive in this new world. I know I am. Having attended one and watched several of your past events, I have to share how impressed I am with your ability to assemble interesting people to discuss relevant topics. Thank you. I also want to give a shout out to Nicole Gilbertson, who you mentioned. She's Chill employee #1 and an inaugural Baumhart Scholar, and I am so proud of her and grateful for everything that she has done for Chill and the entire community. Thank you, Nicole. I thought I would start, which would be on our first slide, please. In case people aren't familiar with Chill, we are a modern meditation business that was started 3 years ago. April 2nd was our anniversary. Our mission is to help people live less stressed and more mindful lives. My background is actually in finance and philanthropy, but I was stressed out working 2 jobs and looking for a way to alleviate, mitigate, better manage some of the stress, aside from drinking rosé or scotch. I also thought I was going to need a new job soon. I love my work at the hedge fund, but the industry isn't very robust in Chicago, and it's quite a mature field without much innovation. As an aside, I worked for a convertible bond arbitrage fund and have to admit curiosity at what it might be like now to be involved in markets with this type of volatility. In any case, somehow I combined this need for a new job and a desire to learn to meditate and birthed a business. We started with a focus on consumers. We built a studio in River North, right across the street from the Merchandise Mart, that is secular and gender neutral and hopefully inviting to come visit for all. We emphasize making meditation accessible and rooted in science. The studio was designed to help you exercise your brain and offers weekly classes. Just like going to a soul cycle or core power yoga to exercise your body, you'd visit Chill to exercise your mind. We expanded into education and have a business called Chill Ed. We actually have 22 people that are graduating from our 4th 100-hour teacher training program next week. We're hosting our next teacher training program, likely 100% virtual for the first time, at the beginning of May. Chill Away is our retreat business, and Chill Merch is our private label merchandise. The business evolved as we matured. We've now worked with over 300 companies in industries as diverse as consumer packaged goods, to law and consulting firms, to advertising agencies. We help these companies create mindfulness curriculum for their workforce and or their clients. It's really rewarding work and where we see our future. Chill Co. has hosted sessions at our studio or at offices, and fortunately, extremely fortunate in light of the current environment, these partners started asking us if we could work with them outside of Chicago, which led to us creating Chill Anywhere, our app. Chill Anywhere was originally designed as a B2B app. It offers video on-demand meditation and yoga sessions in a library, as well as live streaming sessions, which we are committed to continuing to create daily. And we can create customized live streaming sessions for any of our clients. For instance, in response to a request from one of our law firm partners, we designed a continuing education class which fulfills a required credit in ethics. In this class, we focus on techniques to combat mental health and substance abuse challenges specific to the field of law. I should take a step here for just a minute and define mindfulness. According to Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's considered the father of modern meditation, it is paying attention in the present moment, on purpose, in a particular way, without judgment. Your attention could be on anything from your breath, a candle flame, or a movement such as a yoga pose. You just need to pay attention to the present moment. So both pre-COVID and even now, when discussing meditation's benefits, I always lead with it being helpful in dealing with depression and stress. When you train your brain to focus on the present moment, it helps one stop lamenting over the future, which tends to lead to depression, or feeling stressed about lamenting over the past, which leads to depression, or feeling stressed about the future, which can lead to anxiety. Workplace stress is considered the 5th leading cause of death. That's worse than chronic illnesses like Alzheimer's and diabetes. But in the past, I wouldn't have leaned into the medical benefits. I would have focused more on how meditation helps employees cultivate listening skills and consequently compassion and team building. I would have focused and spoken about how meditation encourages empathy and fosters collaboration, how it helps employees with focus, which leads to better productivity. I'd have explained how these might seem like soft skills, but how important these skills are when discussing employee retention and absenteeism. With statistics like 61% of employees have said that workplace stress has made them physically sick, and 1 in 4 Americans experience a diagnosable mental health issue each year, honing these soft skills is important. And employee retention and absenteeism affects a company's bottom line. Job stress costs US businesses an estimated $300 billion a year. Next slide, please. Today, my message is very different. My focus is on compelling businesses and community leaders like you to recognize the storm on the horizon and your influence leading into and after this maelstrom. A recent Gallup study suggests that only 45% of employees strongly agree that their organization cares about their overall well-being. You have a chance to positively influence the statistic and, most importantly, to save lives. Domestic violence and child abuse is anecdotally on the rise. Stress is a trigger, and victims don't have access to usually available outlets for help. Experts are very concerned. Depression and suicide will be on the rise too. The direction of the economy is a key indicator of suicide rates. The largest increase in the overall suicide rate in the United States occurred during the Great Depression. Between 1928 and 1929, the suicide rate surged by over 22%. Drug and alcohol abuse will also rise. Alcohol sales were up 55% in March. And the potential for relapse for people struggling to overcome substance use will increase as people find themselves alone, disconnected, and facing new challenges. Isolation is a concern for all of us. 20% of the workforce was experiencing severe loneliness and depression pre-COVID-19. Economic dislocation, job loss, and fear of death by disease are triggers for substance use, which heightens the risk of other issues like suicide and domestic violence. Meanwhile, stay-at-home orders now in effect for COVID-19 limit access to support resources and support services. We're in a real mess, which is why we need to act now and do whatever we can to provide mental health resources and put in place preventative measures for what is sure to be a vulnerable population to mental challenges in the near future. Employees might not trust their employers completely, but according to the 2020 Edelman Trust Barometer, my employer was the most trusted institution when compared to governments, the media, NGOs, and the overall business community. We must take this role seriously and help how we can right now. It's a matter of life or death, and this is not hyperbole. So to wrap this up, if you can remember just one thing, it's that your teams are counting on you now more than ever in our lifetime. You are who they rely on the most. Please help create a safe community. When thinking about supporting employees' wellness during COVID-19, please keep in mind that one size does not fit all. Your team's size, where they are now working, their geography, all of this will play a role in your decisions. What's good for Mondelez might not be good for PwC. Lead by example. I can't emphasize this enough. Endorsing a wellness strategy and yet not demonstrating your own personal dedication to the approach will not yield high adoption. The boss or bosses need to practice what they preach. And if you decide to use mindfulness as your tool, it doesn't have to take a lot of time or money. Just 5 minutes a day, regularly, will make a big difference. And by the way, executives and CEOs suffer from depression and loneliness at a rate more than double the general population. This is all about your employees, but it will trickle down to your clients too. Happy teams equal happy customers. In a work from home world, your employees will have heightened need for connectivity. Help provide opportunities for community. In conclusion, communicate regularly with your employees, ask for feedback, listen, and pivot accordingly. Your workforce needs you now more than ever. Wishing you all good health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura, for those powerful remarks. And I just want to add to them by saying that Edelman actually provided an update to that brand study. And what they found in the era of COVID-19 is that that relationship between the employer and the employee has actually gotten more important. So in that original brand study that you quoted, it was already very important, but other stakeholders were important too. And what they found in this new study is that the number one way businesses are being judged today is how they are caring for their employees amidst this moment. And so it just adds even further emphasis to everything that you've said and to the role that employers need to play in ensuring the mindfulness and the wellness of their employees. I now want to begin moving us into the case studies because this is playing out in different ways, not only for employees, but across companies. And a phenomenal example of that is at Mondelez, where Chris and her team have really aimed to bring this to their own staff as well as to the company's products and core offerings. And so I want to turn it over to you, Chris, who, as you see here, is the VP and Global Impact Sustainability and Wellness Officer at Mondelez. And I'm excited for you to share how you are applying these tools in your setting.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Seth. Can you hear me?
We hear you great.
Terrific. So thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you today. And I want to thank Laura, who's been a terrific partner to us, for inviting me to share our story. So if we move on, one question you may be asking is, who is Mondelez International? We are a spin-off of from Kraft Foods about 7 or 8 years ago, and we're one of the world's largest snack companies. And you can see some of our brands there on the screen. I tell people we're the Oreo people. We have operations throughout the world in over 150 countries, over 80,000 employees, and we do invest a lot in our sustainability initiatives, community initiatives, as well as donations to help local communities in driving positive impact. So that's a little bit of who we are. One of our key insights is that really leads to our company purpose is that consumers, if snacking is on the rise, and I've been with the company 25 plus years. I spent a good part of my career in marketing and really understanding consumer behavior. And we know consumers are, they don't want to have to make choices. They want to be able to live healthy, productive lives and still eat the foods that they love. And snacking with busy lifestyles continues globally to be increasing. It fills a number of different needs, whether it's that emotional payoff at the end of the day where maybe you have some chocolate or something sweet, all the way back to the morning when you start the day and you need some real energy and you might be finding yourself reaching for something on the go. So how we can help consumers sort of find the space led to exactly where we are here. Our purpose is empowering people to snack right. And we're on this mission to really lead the future of snacking by bringing consumers the right snack, and importantly, so that they can enjoy it in the right moment and made the right way. And right moment is really where our focus today, because it's about mindful snacking. Mindful snacking for us is core, if you move to the next one, to our to this mission of leading the future of snacking, because we believe that in all the work that we've done around behavioral wellness for consumers, that moderation is absolutely indulgence in moderation is absolutely part of people's well-being. When we talk to consumers about, can you imagine a life without chocolate in it, without those little sweet biscuits, whatever your pleasure is, the things that bring you emotional well-being as part of an overall, holistic wellness, they can't imagine not having them. And what they're really trying to do is, and maybe many of you can relate to it, is to enjoy their favorite foods, but enjoy them in a healthy way where they don't overdo it. And that's what we mean by snacking and balance. And so that's what we're on a mission to really help consumers with. And if we've been doing this for several years now, we started with we have an extensive nutrition team in our research and development group. And I started partnering with them, leading our well-being effort to kind of look at what the science is behind this and to understand, we were trying to figure out different ways that we could help consumers with this behavioral challenge that they face. And so we just started over the years doing different webinars, and we basically, our RDQ folks put together a literature review looking at 70 different studies around the world, and really bringing that information first to sort of the healthcare community, publishing a guide for how nutritionists and doctors could actually bring practical tips to their patients around how they could apply this concept of mindfulness to their clients. And then we started saying, okay, how can we start to bring this direct to consumers, and importantly, our colleagues as well? We felt like there would be just as much need for this for our own employees. And so that led to, we're starting to do some things with digital partners. We're starting to do some things in terms of our brands are starting to activate and to bring this out into the world in different ways on PAC and in social media, et cetera. And then you can see there on the right, we actually have been doing some employee training, and Shill's been a terrific partner in helping us do both a combination of in-person and online sessions. And Claire, one of the wonderful teachers from Chill, this is not a plug for Chill, I promise, was with us last year, and the Wall Street Journal came to actually understand what we were doing, and they featured an article about it in their paper last year and online. So where are we going? And Laura talked about mindfulness, and what do I mean by mindful snacking? As I mentioned, it's really this behavioral approach where you shift from just what you're eating to really paying attention to, how am I consuming this and why am I eating it? What's my motivation? And it's really about being intentional. And particularly, I think, as we're in this stressful time, working from home, often in front of a screen, you may find yourselves often in a moment where, you might look at, where did the bag of whatever I was eating go, or, the whole plate or whatever it is. And you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize how much I've consumed. So mindfulness really helps folks to be able to stop and pay attention and really just have that moment where they think about, what am I really, what am I solving for? And so this next slide is a guide we put together. We actually have them on some cards, and it's something that we use internally to really kind of sum it all up in one place, where, and I'm sorry that it didn't translate well in the PowerPoint version here, but it's really about relevancy, because it's something that anybody can do. It's something that you can it's something as mindfulness is increasing, and particularly in this stressful time, I'm really happy to see how much meditation is something that people are turning to in this time of stress and crisis for as an antidote to stress. And it's something that anyone can do. It is a sustainable practice because anyone can do it anywhere. We have a lot of things we're working on now to help parents be able to teach their children about mindfulness and the practice around mindful snacking. And we've done a lot of research to show that there's really science behind this, that it really can lead to sustainable, healthy eating habits. And it's very simple. Here's some really easy things that you can do if you wanted to try it after this session, maybe later today. And you don't have to do all of these things, but, you know, I say to folks, and experts have helped us develop this, you know, it might be as simple as, you know, put your, whatever it is you decide to eat, you know, put it in a little bowl or on a plate, so that you don't have the whole package in front of you. And we're really also doing a lot to increase portion control as part of our portfolio to make it easy for people to have the right portion. And then maybe look at the food. I mean, we've done wonderful exercises in part of the training that we've done with our own employees where, you know, when's the last time you actually looked at what it is you're eating? Our Oreos have a trademark design that very often we don't even see in the chocolate cookie. So whatever it is that you're eating, smell it, etc. Another simple tip is, you know, maybe eat it with your opposite hand. You know, something that actually slows you down and gets you out of that rote behavior so that you can be a little bit in the moment is what we're working to try to practice ourselves and to teach people. And if you move on, there's lots of consumer benefits specific to relationships with food. You know, this is, sometimes food becomes a real stress for consumers, for people in terms of feeling guilt and feeling a lot of negativity. And really there are no bad foods. It's about your relationship with food and really getting maximum pleasure and satisfaction. And when you have that, all of the studies show that there's less likelihood to just, again, overeat because of that mindlessness. So mindless consumption. So it really does help consumers both physically as well as mentally. And in keeping with what's going on in the COVID response, I just wanted to share also very quickly, how are we applying this? This is our overall macro Stronger Together campaign, which is what we're doing to number one, within our 80,000 colleagues around the world who are many of them in manufacturing facilities, as well as on the front lines in stores, restocking shelves, etc. We're doing a lot of making sure that we keep those colleagues safe. I'm happy to report that, you know, we're really, in terms of use of face masks and good hygiene and all kinds of things, practices we put into place, really seeing very good results there. And then importantly, making sure that we can continue to, you know, bring consumers, particularly now where, you know, food supply is one of the key things that I know is worrisome as we do studies around the world and we're listening on social media, etc. You know, consumers are just very anxious now about going to the store and being able to find the foods they like, and they're getting a lot of emotional comfort out of, you know, those favorite foods that they love. And we also have donated $15 million to various charitable organizations of cash and products to help address food security, as well as families and children at risk, and emergency relief services. So the next thing that we're doing is we're also working on mindfulness and helping both for our colleagues as well as externally for consumers, starting to bring some of this information around, yes, you know, as you know, maybe you're stressed and maybe you're eating more. So how do you manage this stress and use mindfulness as a way to do that? So Yammer is something we use internally. We just had this wonderful, simple adaptation of our mindful snacking tips come out for our employees this week. We're working on some keynotes for training sessions We have one going next week to about 400 of our colleagues around the world, just different talks about how to apply mindfulness. And now we're kicking off Mindful Mondays shortly across our social media channels to help consumers who follow us start to have some of these easy, practical things that they can do to, again, just bring that practice of mindfulness in really simple ways as one of the tools to help manage what they're dealing with in the current situation. So that's it. Happy to answer questions at the end if we have time for dialogue, and really appreciate the opportunity to share a practical application of mindfulness in a way that helps our employees as well as consumers. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chris. And I just want to say that I think that your approach here is so emblematic of the change that's taking place in business net large that, you know, a decade or two ago, a snacking company would be thinking about how do we sell the most product? And increasingly, with the greater integration of purpose, we're seeing more and more companies say, how do we improve the lives of our consumers? How do we create healthier, more sustainable brands? And I think Mondelez is really a role model in that. And so I'm grateful for your sharing. And I'm also very excited to hear that you are applying this now even more deeply in this moment where it's more needed than ever. We're going to come over now to a very different type of company, and you'll hear me say that again when we get to PwC, because we wanted to give you three very different examples. Strata Decision Technology is a consulting team that is at the forefront of healthcare, and I'll let Heidi tell you more, but they are in many ways at the front lines of this moment, and they are thinking about how they can keep the people that are at the front lines of helping others heal themselves. And so Heidi, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you to the Baumgart community for having me. It's truly a pleasure to be here and share our experiences with everyone. I lead the people and culture efforts at Strata. A little at Strata, you see here a by the numbers view. But to frame this information, just know that we spend our days focused mainly on two things, almost obsessively, and that is our team and our customers. And certainly while we've been lucky enough that those efforts have been recognized through Best Place to Work accolades and industry awards, that certainly doesn't drive the work we do. Next slide. Ultimately, it is all for us about our mission, which is to help heal healthcare. And for those who are unfamiliar with Strata, we provide software and services designed to support hospitals and healthcare systems as they plan, analyze, and perform financially. So our mission is tied very directly to what everyone is seeing on the news every day. Healthcare is extraordinarily complex, and hospitals run on very slim margins in many cases as it is. And when you add a pandemic, obviously, to the mix, which changes patient mix and services being provided, that greatly impacts the cost and revenue equation for these organizations and complicates things for those who are honestly tasked with getting people well right now, which needs to be their number one focus. So our team is all about helping our customers, both now and into the future, weather this crazy storm that we're all facing. Much like our clients, Strata has always put service at the center of everything we do. It is one of our core values, and that obviously predated COVID-19 and is even more the case today. Slide. And as I was thinking about this conversation around mindfulness and employee well-being, I was reflecting on an article that I read actually in mid-March that Gallup put out. I know Laura had mentioned earlier that Gallup stat about 45% of employees think their employers don't care about them. And in the piece I read, it talked a little bit about how organizations function in times of crisis. And often they go one of two directions, which is either towards fear and helplessness and feeling victimized by the circumstances, or there are organizations that find their employees use it as a rallying cry and really find higher levels of engagement during these times. And when Gallup dug into the data and analytics around this, what they actually found was that for teams who achieve the latter, there is actually 4 universal needs that were being met by the leaders of those organizations. And I have them outlined here, which is trust, compassion, stability, and hope. Strata as an organization is always focused on these needs of our team. And when we were looking at COVID-19, we basically used that as the foundation to build our response. And at a time where it felt like everything was getting more complicated in the world, we just really wanted to make a conscious decision to keep it simple for our people. And that was ultimately two things were going to drive our priorities and our decisions. And that was the safety of our team and the support of our clients. And when I talk about the safety of our team, I obviously am speaking about the physical safety, but it really means much more than that, as we have heard in both the presentations, that preceded me. So what did that look like for us? We are a mid-sized, team-centric organization. Here are some kind of tangible things that were happening real time that I think frames the context of our response and a little bit about what we were thinking about when making decisions. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're losing control, and that is true individually, and it was true with our team as well. So within 48 hours of moving to 100% remote work, we hosted trainings to our entire team on what the virtual office experience was going to be. We built a knowledge base in our LMS with access to articles and technical one-pagers on tools that they would have available to them, ergonomic tips for their home office, honestly just trying to provide our team with information that they could help in controlling their situation. Additional stress and pressure are added when people don't have the tools to do their job. And, that could be as simple as not knowing how to use GoToMeeting or connect to a VPN. And we certainly didn't want to add that to the mix. We made a commitment early to be transparent and timely with information. The not knowing or wondering what leadership is thinking during these teams can really be a catalyst for anxiety for our team. So, as I talked about, trust is built on credibility and reliability and honesty. So ultimately, we just make sure that we provide that through a communication cadence that people can count on. Our CEO does videos every Friday. We provide weekly email updates. We've created avenues for people to ask questions and ensure that they actually get answers. These are things that our team counts on and allows us to provide that stability and some semblance of normalcy in what is right now incredibly abnormal time and working conditions. Our team, because of the nature of our work, we are reinforcing with them every day the importance of the work that they are doing. We've invited client guest speakers, both doctors and administrators at hospitals, to show how they are using what Strata is doing and the work that we do, how they're using it to deal with what they're facing today. Our mission is actually very much in action, and we just make sure we remind our team about the impact that they're having. And it's tactical things that people, that tell people how we know how hard this is to face and that we genuinely care about them, whether that's as simple as pushing teledoc information. We've eliminated the costs associated with using those resources, providing employee assistance programs to support families who need additional help, whether that be, emotionally or, financial assistance. We have acknowledged those things and tried to provide channels for people to reach out and get the help they need. And that includes parents who are now teachers and nannies and stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads and employees, like all in the same space and at the same time. So allowing for flexibility with schedules for people and acknowledging that the pitter-patter of little feet may present themselves. I have had some unexpected visitors in some of my internal meetings, and rather than allowing that to create angst, we have embraced, our broader Strata family with open arms, and created social channels. I know earlier Chris talked a little bit about Yammer. We use Slack, and we have created multiple social channels for parents and the broader organization to share ideas and resources and really solution challenges that they're facing together, and use the network of people that we have relationships with. you know, our community, Strata is extraordinarily community focused. We wanted to provide an opportunity for our team to do something personally. Hunger food scarcity is a cause that we care deeply about. It's linked directly to health and something that we have always focused on. So immediately we launched virtual food drives and increased our company charitable contributions to support the Greater Chicago Food Depository and Feeding America and the Red Cross and World Health Organization. And it's really been amazing the amount of energy that can come from providing people the opportunity to do good outside the bounds of kind of the work they do every day. And that was always been a priority for us. And honestly, it's just about continuing to facilitate relationships and people still finding joy in the relationships they have at work. We've had, you know, the things that you read about, certainly video happy hours and opportunities to still have lunches, groups, but we've also used our internal social media channels to share high school pictures or best recipes or pictures of your new office mates, whether that's your pets or your children or your roommates, because the loneliness that people can feel in these situations is very real. So we really wanted to make sure that, you know, we have outlets for our team to still connect and feel what really culturally makes Strata what I believe a really special place. And I know many of you have that same relationship with your organizations. So, I mean, ultimately Strata, along with every other company who is on this, will be judged, and rightly so, not only on what we do, but how we do it. So I just implore all of you, you know, authenticity matters, and honesty and reliability matters, and compassion and kindness matters, and it matters now more than ever. So just spend time listening to your team, flexing when you can, express care in the most sincere ways possible, and honestly just express gratitude. You know, we are constantly brainstorming ways to express our appreciation to our team. So in that same Gallup article that I talked about earlier, it talked about people are amazingly resilient, and there is no shortage of things we see on TV and in social media and in our neighborhoods demonstrating this, and our workplaces are absolutely no different. So take care of your people because it is the right thing to do for your business, but more importantly, it's just the right and kind thing to do. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Heidi. And I just want to echo what you said about it's the right thing for your business. But at this moment, one of the lessons that I've heard is the best thing business leaders can be is human. And that is really that authenticity that's building that long-term value and relationship set. So it's a great example. And I know your CEO, Dan, is very much a role model in that regard. Vilma, we're excited to hear from you now. We're going to come back to a big company context. We're going to hear about how PwC is applying these same thematic ideas. And Vilma, as you can see, is the people leader for the Central region. So she has a very large team of people that she is supporting at this moment. Vilma, let me turn it over to you.
Hey, Seth, thanks so much. And it is such a privilege to be with all of you today. And thank you for the opportunity to just share a little bit more about the firm and our journey to date. I've been at the firm for over 20 years, and I'll just preface that I have never been so proud to be part of this organization in terms of the authenticity and the leadership and the courage that we've been demonstrating the last few weeks. And part of that journey is Be Well, Work Well. This is a holistic journey for us that we actually began 3 to 4 years ago, where we were looking at our people around their mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. And it was a conversation about really becoming, you know, your best self and bringing that best self to the firm, to your colleagues, and to our clients. And I'm so grateful that we started that conversation a long time ago, because it has provided us the backdrop to really have the real conversations now, to really meet the needs of our people as complete human beings, right? A lot of the great points that Heidi just shared in terms of this transition to a virtual space and being able to be agile, empathetic, and our whole selves, right, with one another, whether we're meeting with one another, with our clients. I'll just share a little bit of context about the firm for those on the phone who may or may not know. Hi, Seth. We're over 200 years old, professional services firm. For the US, we've got 55,000 partners and staff, and our focus is on our assurance and audit practice, tax services, and consulting. One of the stats less known about PwC is our average age for our employees is 27. And so that definitely keeps us on our toes in terms of our agility and our flexibility and how we connect and how we continue to keep things fresh and in our teams. So as we started this journey around COVID-19, the platform of Be Well, Work Well, we took a step back and we thought about the challenges for our people in terms of what are they thinking about, feeling, the environments that they're transitioning to since we closed our offices in mid-March. And on this slide, we show some of the topical things that we were able to identify early, whether it was their emotional energy, right? Keeping our people focused as they're working from home, keeping them productive, just like Heidi said, when they're also having, spouses, roommates, and children that they're also homeschooling. We've focused on keeping our folks' physical, mental, spiritual, and energy levels up, while also trying to create actually new boundaries, right? And having dialogue around, okay, you work from home, and how do you get your responsibilities done in a flexible way, while you're also meeting the needs of your family and your own self-well-being. We recognize that, people are in different situations, whether they're living alone, whether they're caring for themselves or others who might be COVID positive. Some of our younger staff have a lot of roommates and they're managing space for the first time with all of them together and working remotely. Of course, the medical needs, and then also the financial uncertainty that this climate has brought to bear. And this slide really encompasses the topical things that we've brought to our leadership conversations, our dialogues with our people, whether that's on a macro basis or more individually. But we've gathered this together to try to have consistent communications, and then also to continue to engage and be connected with our people in terms of what's real for them right now and being authentic in that dialogue. So if we could go to the next slide. How we've really accomplished this is by our leadership communications. We have weekly communications with our senior partner. And I have to tell you, Seth, they're probably the most engaging and most personal stories that he shares in terms of, he goes running with his kids every day at a certain time. Sometimes he actually has to take that national call from his car because he's a father of 6. And he shared yesterday stories about what he misses right now, and then what he loves about the firm and what we're doing and the impact we're having. And it is at such an authentic and real message that it is providing that stability and that hopefulness that our people really need right now. Also, we have pivoted, we have coaching that we've offered for our people for professional and career development. And in this current environment, we've pivoted that offering to to provide well-being coaching. And so if you are feeling stress, if you're trying to manage your time management in a new way, if you're adjusting to loneliness or trying to feel connected, we've offered this coaching to all of our 55,000 employees. We've offered ongoing virtual webinars and group discussions, whether it's meditation or using some of the new tools. We've offered that also on a very regular cadence so that our people can continue to develop their skills as well as feel connected through those communities. We continue to offer different discussion and tools so that even if we're having a virtual happy hour, there's a background dialogue that we can have that's meaningful and authentic so that people can really connect through this online medium that may be new or may have a lot of people at any given time. For the firm, we've created a one-stop shop around COVID. So whether it's policy or new information as we're evolving, our stay-at-home timing, or new rules or new resources, for our people, it comes down to one place where they can find anything and everything in its most up-to-date basis to simplify their access to the information that they're seeking. And then finally, the idea of sharing personal stories. This has also been a big part of our Be Well, Work Well strategy. We're using stories of how our folks are coping and sharing pictures of fun things they're doing to relax and unwind and get outside and get some fresh air, or just to be well, is a way that we're also staying connected. So overall, this slide really summarizes to such a big degree like how we're communicating with one another. And then in the middle is probably the most important, which is crowdsourcing. So for our firm, giving back to the community has always been part of our purpose and part of the backbone of why each of us is passionate about PwC. And through crowdsourcing, we continue to give back to the non-for-profits and to the community in a meaningful way, whether it's funding through one another or through the PwC Foundation. And also through that with Idea Lab, that's how we're sharing some of those stories of how we're giving back, whether we're sewing masks or we're volunteering and bringing food to neighbors, or anything that we're doing to help one another through this crisis. We could go to the next slide, thank you. So here we've summarized some of the key resources that we've offered at the firm, whether it's to support one another and or if it's to reach out to our clients in a meaningful way. I'll point out too, for everyone on this call, we've recently made our digital fitness app available to everyone globally. And why this is important during this time is because it's such an opportunity to learn and upskill and bring so much of that digital agenda to make it accessible to everyone. And so we're so excited to offer that. It was something that we started at the firm as we started our own digital upskilling journey. And now we're offering it globally for everyone to access so that you can look at that and learn a lot about different elements of the digital agenda that's going on in the world around us. Also on this slide, our team that's around Workforce of the Future offers resources and thought leadership around your workforce and your action plan around this crisis time, and resources for you to ideate and have for your solution and planning. So that's another opportunity. And then again, for our well-being strategy, we have a habit bank where again, people are finding ideas of what their peers are doing to stay healthy, to stay motivated, and to stay engaged. And with that, I will pause and thank you again, Seth, and everyone else for this opportunity to share our journey with you.
Thank you, Vilma, and thank you as well for sharing your fitness app. That is something that I noted down as well as I think about this moment. We only have a few minutes, and so I'm going to ask for the 30-second power round answers to whichever of these questions you would like to answer as a panelist. One that we got from Kayla is around how we think about outdoors right now as we look at mindfulness. One that we got from Mary Beth Johnson is around screen time recommendations at this moment. And then a final open question for all of you is if you had to pick one tip and share it in 30 seconds or less for the wide range of executives on this call, what would be the first thing that they should do to begin promoting wellness? So with apologies for the pressure of giving you such a short time constraint, we'll go with whoever, popcorn style, whoever pops first here in terms of answers.
Yeah, hi, it's Heidi. I will jump in. Mary Beth, I read your question well. Velma was talking, and I just to address it directly. It is very easy to spiral into over engineering, right? So the management of the team is very nuanced. So I think it's more about making sure your people feel empowered to self-manage, but providing that variety of resources to support their well-being, both professionally and personally. You know, empower your frontline leaders to pay attention to their team. You don't want people on their computer all day. It's easy to fall into that when you are home. As someone who works from home a day a week, I know that feeling. So I think this is about making sure that our leaders and frontline folks are paying attention and addressing that so that we don't let people spiral. But you don't want to over-engineer someone's day, so allowing for that flex in when it works for them.
Awesome. Thanks, Heidi.
So Seth, I'll take Kayla's question about encouraging time outdoors. To say the answer is yes, that's great. Nature seems to be something that is universally soothing for virtually everybody. So especially assuming it will get warm again in Chicago soon, we would encourage it very much so.
Awesome. And if not, they can have the experience of snow, which I hear can be stress relieving in April as well.
It's still nature, yes.
Seth, I'll take a popcorn one in terms of a practical tip. It's Chris talking. Sure. I mean, one thing that I have been doing is just really trying to set an intention at the beginning of my day, both like just trying to, some of the earlier conversation around, I find myself, it's really easy to stay on my laptop working late into the evening. So just being really intentional about what is it I want to get done for the day and having that list, but also I would say emotionally, like how do I want to show up and be present for the folks that I work with and that I interact with, and just really being, and even in my family at home, you know, so how am I, what's my mood, and how can I really be intentional about having a more positive mood? Even yesterday or whatever day it was snowing, and I was like, well, hey, the good news is I don't have to drive to work today. It's great. You know, who cares if it's snowing? I'm inside and I'm cozy and warm. So just really trying to be intentional is helping me.
Vilma, last word, if you have one.
Yeah, sure. I think in terms of the key themes is really being authentic and real, because I think at this point, everyone has seen each other's like living rooms and whatnot. Like, take that next step, right? Speak from the heart. Are people really, I think all people really engage with that and understand that and feel that in such a profound way. And even more so now, more than ever.
Well, thank you all. And on the note of speaking from the heart, I just want to say that when I looked over the list of people who are joining us today, I am truly so grateful for what all of you are doing to meet this moment. And so I'm enormously grateful to the panelists for sharing their ideas with you. And I am very confident, given who was on here, that many of you will be bringing this back to your workplaces and adding to the purpose of actions you're already taking. So thank you all. Stay mindful, stay healthy, wash your hands, and hopefully we will all have a chance to gather in person in the not so distant future. Thanks, and stay mindful. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Seth.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.